Welcome to another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited for our special guest today, Gabi Odebode. We're excited to talk about leading with purpose, impactful pivots to foster global change. You don't want to go anywhere. Stay tuned. Gabi is an author, an international speaker, and she is the founder of AfroMeals Foundation and the CEO of AfroMeals. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these sponsor messages. This episode of Purpose Today is brought to you by Purpose Today Global in partnership with the Purpose Professionals community. If you're a professional who has a desire to align your career with your purpose, join the Purpose Professionals community. The Purpose Professionals community has moved from school to its new location, and for insight on the community, you can use the link in the chat. If you want to pivot to align with purpose, connect with other like minded professionals, grow your career, or align your business with your purpose, join the Purpose Professionals community today. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I'm so excited to introduce our very special guest, Gabi Odebode. Gabi, welcome to Purpose Today.
Thank you for having me, Dr. April. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, and I'm so delighted to have you. I know I shared a little bit of insight about you, but there may be more that our viewers would like to know. So, can you share about yourself with our viewers, please?
Hi, everyone. So I am Chef Gabi Odebode. I am originally from West Africa, Ghana. I'm married to Dr. Yanu, who's from Nigeria. So we have the best of both worlds going on. Initially, I started off as a science student with the track of becoming a doctor, but that didn't work out so much. And I'm going to talk more on that as we, chit chat here. And then now I am a chef with a business and a nonprofit.
Thank you so much for sharing about that. And, I just want to unpack a little bit of like what you said in your introduction. You talked about being, the aspirations of being a medical doctor and, having the track of studying medicine. And so it's quite a big pivot to go from medicine to entrepreneurship, and you're doing things globally that are bringing change. So can you share like what inspired you to make the pivot from the track to be a medical doctor to the various enterprises that you're leading?
Yeah, definitely. So, coming from I would say a West African background, specifically being a Ghanaian, the goal of what you're expected to be is like a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, a nurse, one of those couple of careers. So I wanted to become a doctor because I loved science. That was one subject. Science and math was something that I really enjoyed studying and looking into. So I'm like, okay, I want to become a doctor. I also love taking care of people. So I thought that would be a great fit. So that was what I started with. I did my bachelor's degree in biology in UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore. And then I also did my master's doing research in Morgan State University. And after that, I started working in the hospital. I did a little teaching here and there, teaching students as a teacher's assistant in those schools. And also afterwards, I got a job for a year and I was teaching in Bowie State University. I was teaching about biotechnology. So afterwards, I also decided to see how the hospital field will be like. So I got a job working in clinical research, oncology, the cancer center in the University of Maryland Baltimore hospital, where I was able to kind of get a feel of what working in a hospital will be like. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't like this. This is not for me. I couldn't bear to see people in the shape that they were in, very sick. Sometimes some people make it, sometimes some people don't. Seeing kids in that environment, it literally weighed on me. And I was taking that home almost every single day, kind of depressed, sad for those individuals, their family. And I'm like, I don't think this is what I want to do. In the meantime, while I was doing all of that, I also started what I would say a side hustle, where I started cooking and catering and doing all of the food stuff for as a side hustle to kind of help me out in college, because we know that those who have gone to college, we really don't have much money to live. So just doing the side hustle stuff. And also as early as when I was in high school, I think age what 14, 15, I took food and nutrition cooking classes. And that's what piqued my interest for wanting to be, cooking in the kitchen and all of that. So, but that was like on a back burner, because in my mindset in high school, I'm becoming a doctor. So it's like, maybe this can be like a little hobby and stuff like that. So I started experimenting with like spices at home. I was introduced to someone named Rachel Ray from the Food Network, and that piqued my interest. 30 minutes meals and stuff like that. So I took what I was learning in high school in food and nutrition class, which later on I enjoyed food and nutrition class so much that I pivoted to another class, which is international cuisine. Yeah, when I was in 12th grade. So yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, Gabby. You said a few things that I want us to unpack a little bit. And, you talked about your experience and as you were actually working in the hospital and doing oncology, for you, it weighed so much that you knew you would not be able to do that every day. And
No.
I will tell you, we probably have people who are watching this episode. They're doing something, and what they're doing is weighing on them, but they haven't made the decision to walk away from what they're doing. So, can you tell us a little bit about that experience and if there was an internal struggle for you to make the decision to walk away from the healthcare environment instead of switching to something else healthcare and just going ahead and jumping all in with entrepreneurship? Did you have an internal struggle?
Yes, I think there were so many things that was playing in the background that actually informed my decision of doing this full time. One, also, my husband and I were very strategic. We're strategic, but at the same time, we make decisions that are like, oh, this is kind of crazy. It's not the norm for the type of community that we're coming from. So, number one, I was a mom. I finished my master's while I was a mom, working in the cancer center as a mom. And one thing that also informed that decision is that I wanted a career that allowed me to have time with my kids. Because I remember days where I remember when I was in the cancer center, I just had a baby and I was told to come back to work after like what 6 weeks of maternity leaves, compared to me staying home with like my first and my second um for a whole year. So that broke my heart. And I'm like, okay, not only is this job draining on me emotionally and mentally, it's also like stripping me away from spending time with my kids, because I cherish family a lot, especially, my husband and my kids and stuff. So that was also another thing that made making that decision easier. But at the same time, I didn't just up and leave. My husband was able to finish his PhD, got the amazing job, and then that also added as the decision to leave. Like now, I can head out because like I don't really. My husband is able to support in a way to take care of like most of the bills, so that I can go off and kind of like start a business, build it, and watch it grow. So also like it's not just getting up and saying, "Oh, I'm not happy. Oh, this thing is weighing on me." But like also looking at the circumstances around you. Are you able to, or can you kind of like manage what it is you're doing for the meantime while you're working towards something in the future that you know that you can move to. My husband and I believe that having something stable while you're doing so that it can keep you paying your bills and all of that until you make that informed decision to move on to what it is that you actually want to do.
I think that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, you show the value of a support system, and
Yes.
having the support that you need at home. And I think that's great. And I'm so glad that you went ahead and stepped out. What advice would you give someone if there's someone who's watching and they're at a crossroads and they have this thing that they're doing that's really it's not, they're not fulfilled, it's not working for them, but they have this thing that was maybe a dream that they maybe put on a back burner. You said you were 14 when you were first like inspired about the whole idea. So what would you say to someone? What advice would you give them if they're maybe, on the fence?
I would say, I think one thing I learned is that it depends on what you are trying to do. It is like looking at your future 10 years from now and stuff. Like, we can do what makes us happy and but not will not provide for our needs, and we can also do what helps to provide for our need, but we're not happy in it. I think there's a good balance where what it is that you're looking to do, looking at your situation, that like, do you have um enough support, or have you saved enough to kind of take care of you so that you are able to pursue what it is that you're doing. Also, are you going to give yourself a timeline? I had a timeline, like, okay, by I start this business, by the first 1 or 2 years, doing everything, put in everything I need to put in. If it's not really what I thought that it would be, I'm going to pivot, or I'm going to not to go back to the hospital, but pivot to see what else can be done. So we had like having a business plan in place, literally going on with like a research, with a plan, having mindset on who you can reach out to, partnership, and all of that. Now, it's not all going to come quickly. Now we have AI, so that kind of helps. But back then, I didn't have any of that. Everything was from like my head and stuff like that. So, number one, looking at your financial situation, whether you have a support system or not. Number two, are you able to be self-sufficient, or can you do the two at once? Because I was doing the two at once. I was actually going to work during the weekdays, and then on the weekends I was doing the catering, I was doing all the product development. So I kind of divided my time to do what I needed to do, so that when the opportunity became available for me to now go and do full time, I wasn't just starting from scratch, because I've been doing it along with like the career that I thought I was going to do.
That's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I think the key takeaway is not just pivoting without a plan, like making
Yes,
sure that you have a plan, putting the
yes,
structure in place, making sure that you budget and you plan from like a fiscal standpoint so that you're
yes.
being financially responsible. So that's great. Thank you so much, Gabby, for sharing that. I want us to kind of transition a little bit and talk about, purpose and the role that purpose has in our lives. Like, from your perspective, how important is purpose in our lives and ensuring that we align with purpose and what we're doing?
I think for me, everything I actually do is out of purpose, and I'm always asking, like, I believe in Jesus, so that's a big thing in my decision making. Like, oh, like, lead me to where I'm supposed to be. What is the purpose? I'm here for a reason. I remember 3 years ago, I read The Purpose Driven Life. Like, your name, your identity, where you're from, the family you're in, it is all part of the purpose of why you're here. Why am I here? Who am I going to impact? Why did I go? Why did I spend years and investing in a biology degree for both bachelor's and master's, just for me to end up as a chef? I feel like all of them, there's a purpose for that. I feel like there's a purpose to the reason why I am a chef now. I have AfroMeals and AfroMeals Foundation. Now, the main purpose, I don't see it yet, but I see it in pockets in everything that I'm doing. So purpose is actually one of the main drivers of everything that I do.
That's good. And I think that really has to be a driver in all of our lives, you know. And, you know, we go to God, right? To
Yeah,
know and understand our purpose because he
yeah,
created us, right? So he knows what our purpose is for being here. So thank you so much for
exactly.
sharing that. So,
Yes,
I want to
mhm.
get into talking about the AfroMeals Foundation. I know there's a lot that you're doing, and it's even having an impact around the world. So, if you can share with our viewers more about the AfroMeals Foundation, why it's founded, what you do, and if there's people who want to get involved in some way, how can they do that?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. So, AfroMeals Foundation started. It stemmed from the business, therefore the name. The business is what we do is we provide cooking classes, catering, and we also sell products to different grocery stores and also on our website. So while we're doing the cooking class and all of that, we sometimes the cooking class is usually for people who are kind of like, maybe middle class, upper class, maybe they tend to be the one to purchase tickets because it's like a bit on the high end and it's an experience, right? So we've had people reach out to us that they would love to learn about food and nutrition, cooking, food, and even cultural cooking so that they can learn how to cook for themselves or their family because they're probably like an immigrant that they immigrated here to America. So and unfortunately they're not able to afford that. So what we did is that, okay, how about we create something for underserved communities or people with low income that they can be able to have these same services, not for experience like other people I guess purchase our tickets for, but for their livelihood. And I believe that one thing that is a right to everyone is food, and not just food, nutritious and delicious food. Because sometimes people provide foods, but it's not really tasty, just like fill your stomach. But I
Yeah.
feel like that is also an important part of giving. Everyone has the right to eat delicious food that is healthy for their body. So we came up with this nonprofit to be able to address insecurity. So this is our way of fighting food insecurity, our way, by providing food and nutrition cooking classes, which is not a whole lot that is being done in the I guess nonprofit, in the nonprofit world. So it's also like now something different that we're bringing to help people. And we've been able to also cook and provide it to shelters. We've been able to distribute it to different communities. We've been able to give culturally relevant ingredients to different communities as well. We're doing this locally where we are and also internationally. We've been able to partner up with EBI, Expanding Boundary International, to be able to feed 195 people in Ghana, and we plan to do more of that. But for the meantime, we're focusing locally, and what we're able to do also on the global level, we look forward to doing more of that as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gabby. And viewers who want to help in some kind of way, maybe they want to contribute, maybe they want to contribute resources, you know, financially, maybe they want to volunteer. What would they do to contribute? How can they get involved?
Definitely, they can go on our website because we just started. We need sponsors, we need donors, people who are willing to say, hey, here is this amount of money to give one cooking class or two cooking classes to a family, or a family of six. So this is what I have to donate towards ingredients for a family, or food distribution for a family, or even volunteers. If you're able to volunteer, we will love that during some of our events, packing boxes, cooking, and also helping with the cooking classes. We will love that as well. And you can find all of that on our website, afromillsfoundation.com, or our Instagram page, afromills.foundation.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And I'll be sure to put your Instagram and your LinkedIn and all of that information on the screen. So I'm gonna I've got your Instagram and your LinkedIn there. Now you talked a little bit about your business, Afro Mills, and I want to get more into that and talk more about
Yeah.
Afro Mills, your business. So can you share insight on the services and what you offer to people? And if they're interested in learning, well, let's just start first with your services and what you offer to people who are interested in the business Afro Mills.
So yeah, before I even share that, I'm gonna share a little bit about how it started. I think one of my purpose on earth is to, I think the word that will best describe it is justice. I feel like everybody's voice needs to be heard, and therefore that's why I feel like everybody has the right for food for the Afro Meals Foundation. The Afro Meals business started because every time there's talks about who has the best food, or every time there's talks about they're talking about the best food in the world, you barely see, not just the continent is ignored, but even the countries within the 54 countries in the continent of Africa is barely mentioned. Okay. Meanwhile, different countries around, like the western areas, and the European areas, and all of that, the Asians, all of them are mentioned, but like it's always like crickets with African food. And this is even me talking about the continent as a whole, let alone talking about the countries and cities and towns and states and stuff like that. So that is what informed my decision, not just to become a chef, but to become someone who stand up for their culture. Like, we have great foods too. We have great cuisine, spices, different ingredients, herbs and spices that adds to what we make to make it delicious. So for me, and another word I will also use to describe myself is education. I like to educate people because I feel like sometimes some of these things are not said or spoken about because some people don't know, right? Like there's some type of ignorance there. And I feel like if I can bring that education, therefore the cooking classes we started providing as a service from our cooking class, if we can provide that education, then there's no excuse that you don't know, right? And that's what we started with the business. We're going to start, hosting cooking classes, and not just to teach about the African culture, but teach about the African food, let people know the spices we use, let people know how delicious our food is. And funny enough, once we started doing it was a hit. Like, people started welcoming, and we're in Ohio, okay? We are in Ohio, and people in Ohio are super interested, asking, where have you been all these years? And this is your food is delicious. Why are people not talking about it? I was like, this is why we're here, so that you all can know about us and know that, like, we also have a beautiful cuisine to share with the world. So that's how it started. So we started offering cooking classes, and also we started offering catering. Some people don't want to probably be in the cooking class, but they still want to eat, so we started providing catering for them as well. And some people want to do the cooking class, want to eat, and want to take it further by taking it to their homes to cook and to share that cultural experience with their family and friends. So we decided to create products like we have about 19 spices and counting, that we sell, and people are able to use that same spices that they use in the cooking classes. They get to taste in our catering. They're able to use it at home, and also buy it and purchase it for friends and family to experience the culture in their home. So that's what we do.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I want to talk about, I know you talked about all of the different things that you provide through the business, through Afro Mills, and you have cooking classes and you have catering. Do you offer any virtual classes for people who are not in Ohio?
Yes, we've actually done a lot. And COVID, made us very creative. So we started offering virtual cooking classes since COVID started. And ever since then, every single year we have virtual cooking classes with just like regular people who want to learn. And we also have had a lot of team building online cooking classes with Microsoft, Clorox, Dannon, PNG. We've had so many corporate virtual cooking classes for businesses and organizations as well. And then we also have some that we do with like people who are from different parts of the world and want to like join in to learn how to make something like jollof rice. So yeah, we do offer virtual cooking classes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I know we really haven't talked about, I know I mentioned earlier that you're also an author. So we didn't really get into that. So can you share insight? Because there may be people who might be interested in reading.
Yes. So the main thing I started with, I started the business when we moved to Ohio. It's like, what am I going to be doing? Well, we're looking for the location and everything we need to do to start this business. I don't know how to like not do anything. So while I was sitting in our apartment in Ohio, I'm like, you know what? I can write a recipe book. Okay. So I started writing out the recipe book and all of that. I think it was 2019, and then we released it and we became the number one first release on Amazon. And this recipe book is actually what led to my collaboration with the Food Network, because right now I write recipes for the Food Network as well. And I guess in a way I can see why. And going back to purpose, I can see why I went through that biology track, because when I was doing my master's and my bachelor's, and even being a science student, research and development is a huge thing. Having to go over like countless of research and testing and all of that is what I brought into my I guess culinary environment, where I needed to do a lot of research for our products. I needed to do a lot of research for developing recipes and creating a recipe book. So sometimes we think some of the things we start out like it can be tossed in the trash can because we're doing something else, but we don't know how some of the skills that we attained from our previous things that we used to do can really merge well with our current thing that we're doing.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I have your book information on the screen. So if anyone's interested in buying it, you can bring the recipes to your home, Afro Meals, 30-minute meals, and
Yeah.
more. So you can go onto Amazon and purchase that book. If you want to start using it right away, there's a Kindle version if you can't wait for the paperback to come in the mail. But I'd say order both of them. And,
Yes.
it's going to be a great way to be able to bring the African cuisine to your home.
Yes.
And you can also take cooking classes online. So
And
excellent.
we have a new edition coming up through the end of this year. So yes.
Fantastic. So stay tuned for that new edition, but you can already start making amazing meals at
Yes.
home, and you can sign up for a virtual cooking class so that you can make sure that you're preparing them the right way. And I have to applaud you, Gabby, for your collaboration with the Food Network. That is a wonderful accomplishment. So, congratulations to you
Thank
on
you.
that. That is excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And so this has been, such a wonderful conversation. And I have a few more things that I want us to unpack. But I'm
Sure.
so glad that we've been talking about how you can lead with purpose and you can make these impactful pivots, because it helps to make sure that we're fostering change, not just in our community, but globally. And so there may be someone who is watching and, they want to impact, bring change. They want to make an impact globally. So, what's a piece of advice that you can give to someone who wants to do something to ensure that they're bringing change, not just in their community, but around the world?
Yeah, I would say, what are you passionate about? Like, what do you, for me, I've noticed that like I said, I love for people's voices to be heard. I believe in justice. I believe in fairness. I believe in equality. And I guess that somehow informs some of the decisions I make and also lead me towards the purpose, because whatever you do is innate, it's within you. I just believe that people have a right to certain things. So some of the things that I do informs us. So look, like sit with yourself. I like to, there are times when I have a day or a couple hours or even a week where I sit with myself, like, and I kind of look at who am I, like what are some of the characteristics that I have. And I'm like, oh, I don't like it when I feel like people are not being fair. I don't like it when I feel like, people are not, I like to advocate for people basically. So and that's how some of the things I'm doing now. I'm advocating for my culture. I'm advocating for our cuisines. I'm advocating for people who who are they don't have food to eat. They don't have delicious food to eat or nutritious food, because I also come from Ghana. I lived with people who were literally picking up scraps from garbage to eat, kids who are my age mate, and they didn't have family abroad like my parents did, and we got whatever we wanted to eat, but they didn't. So literally picking scraps of garbage and eating it. And for me, not seeing that there's something wrong with that until I came here and I started seeing that, wow, like the people that live here actually are very privileged and stuff like that. So that also kind of ignited me wanting to see people who live in a world where they have access to food and clean water, to advocate for people like that. So I'm not only advocating for the culture, I'm also advocating for people who do not have. So advocacy is something that I believe I'm called to do. So look at yourself, and sometimes it's that whole nature versus nurture. It's either within you or it's probably in the environment that you grew up in that will inform in what it is that you feel like you're being led to do or you want to do.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. And it's unfortunate that we have people around the world. It's not just in Ghana and African
Yeah.
countries, but even here in the United States, there
Yeah.
are people who have food insecurity. And
Yes.
so, people who want to do something, you can find, places in your local area that you can partner with to help. You can give to organizations. AfroMeals is one of them, but at the AfroMeals Foundation, but there are many others around the world in your
Yes.
community. So I think there's something that you can do. You can actually, make efforts to help to house people who are unhoused, help to feed people, who have food insecurity. It's not just people who are unhoused that have food insecurity. So
Yeah.
there's something that you can do. Look around you and start doing the things that you can do today. And
Yeah.
then
There are
even like
children.
Gabby's.
There are children in the public schools who are dealing with food insecurity, and they literally go to school just so that they can have food to eat and be able to sleep well at night. And it's in the United States. So yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's good. I'm glad that you added that. People don't have to go far, right? To find places that they can help and make an impact.
Yeah.
So I want us to talk a little bit just before, we go. What do you have on the horizon? There's a lot that you're doing, with Afro Mills, with the business. There's a lot that you're doing with Afro Mills Foundation. You have, books, and you have, new developments that are coming with, your current book that we talked about. But what's on the horizon for you?
For this year, we're planning events to raise awareness for the foundation, to do a fundraising for the foundation. So we have an event coming up in April 11th, and we're going to be doing the title right now is Tour of Africa, where we'll be having like some different meals from different parts of Africa. And then we'll be having some sort of entertainment. We're still planning it, so it's not really solidified yet, but that's what we're looking to do for the foundation. We're going to be doing many more cooking classes each month for the foundation. We're going to be doing more food distribution for the foundation, and also giving food to different people in the different local communities who need food, and recipe cards to make the delicious food. That's for the foundation. And then for the AfroMeals business, we're looking to do more cooking classes, more catering, more wedding caterings this year. We're looking to do events. We're looking at doing quarterly events, kind of like travel to Africa where you get to experience different meals. Also going to have like different entertainments and stuff, like meals that people have been looking to us to provide to them. We're going to have it in a fun way. We're going to do something with fufu. I don't know if you've heard about fufu, but it's been a big deal, and people keep asking us, when are you all going to do something with that? We're looking to do something, a fun event with that very soon. So that's what we're planning for this year.
That sounds very exciting. And yes, I'm very familiar with fufu.
Yeah.
I have it from time to time. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for that. Yes. So, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you'd like to add?
Hmm. Just going back to purpose, I guess don't allow discouragement and I guess challenges to stop you, because in starting anything, whether it's something that you're passionate about or whether it's something that you're just doing just to do to see an outcome, there is going to be a lot of challenges on the road, like the roadblocks that we face, not just for the business, but even for the foundation. I'm like, we're trying to help people, and there's still roadblocks. There's still some yeses and a lot of no's, but like we keep moving forward. And if I allowed the fact that number one, I worked on a master's to discouragement, like, oh, I need to find something in this same field and not pursue Afro Mills. Like Afro Mills is like literally the number one African and Caribbean cooking school in the nation. And if we didn't make that leap and believe, number one, in ourselves, believe in God, and not allow challenges to stop us, we will not be known for that. We've been on several news outlets. We've been on, I mean, the possibilities. I've had the what do you call it? The chance to speak on podcasts and be a speaker at different places, talking about the different things that we're doing because of that decision to start something. And always look at what don't. One thing that I would say is that don't do what everybody else is doing. Yes, there's so many cooking class around the nation, but it wasn't a lot of people doing specifically African and Caribbean cooking classes. And that's why we're different. That's why when they're looking for something different in the Cincinnati and Dayton area, we are the people that they're looking for, because there's a lot of cooking classes, but there's not Afro meals focusing on cultural relevancy in terms of cooking classes and catering and all of that good stuff. So yeah.
Thank you, Gabby, for that. I think that's some good advice for people to just continue forward, to not look at what seems to be a roadblock, what seems to be a limitation, because there's people who are waiting on you. There's so many people
Yeah.
who are waiting on you. And
Yeah.
just congratulations and glory to God on everything that He has done and the doors that He has opened for you and for the Afro Mills Foundation and for Afro Mills, the business. It's wonderful. And just to see the side, the other side of being able to move forward and pursue purpose, pursue passion, and to go
Yes.
beyond any roadblocks. That's very encouraging. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that I get to share my story with you on your wonderful podcast.
You're very welcome, and thank you again for being a guest. Now, if people want to reach you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can reach me, my email, Gabi at afromills.com. They can also check out my LinkedIn, which is, I think, Gabi on LinkedIn, Chef Gabi Odebode. And it's being displayed on the screen right now. Instagram, Chef Gabi O. And then
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We have a little bit of a delay there, but thank you again for being a guest. I know you're going to go in the back studio. I just want to remind anyone, if you're interested in the Afro Meals 30-minute meals and more, it's on Amazon. So you can go out to Amazon. And then again, if you want to have the African cuisine in your home, you can register to attend an AfroMeals cooking class virtually. So thank you so much, Gabby, for being a guest on Purpose today. It's been such a joy to have you. I know you're going to go in the back studio and we're going to talk again here in just a little bit. But thank you so much for being a guest. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of Purpose Today. I do appreciate you all for tuning in. If you're someone who you're not fulfilled in your career, you're at a standstill, you feel that you need to pivot, but you're not sure how, you can register for the From Unfulfilled to Unstoppable Purpose Driven Career Pivot Masterclass, or you can email us at admin@purposetoday.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Purpose Today. It has been such a joy to have Gabi Odebode as we've talked about leading with purpose, impactful pivots to foster global change. Stay tuned for another power-packed episode of Purpose Today, and be purposeful today and every day.